But I think maybe something that could help other players is, you know, I think what I kind of derive my training off of is what you tell yourself is what you think, and what you think over a long time is what you become. And what you become, that's the actions you take, and the actions you take are the results that you get. And I know it's a little long-winded route, but like, players a lot of times, I think how they think of themselves is ultimately what they get. Like what they put out is what they get back. And I think a lot of players, again, going back to the skills, they might have crazy amount of skills, but they still think of themselves as a role player. They still think of themselves as that bench player, and I think in sessions, I'll really try to create an environment of killer mentality.
Welcome to Q's Health and Wellness Podcast, your source for living a healthier lifestyle and developing a better mind, body, and soul. Through guidance, tips, and stories of highly successful fitness gurus, athletes, and individuals who are passionate about enhancing all aspects of life, we provide you with the tools to help you take your lifestyle to another level. And now your host, Quinn Mitchell.
Welcome to Q's Health and Wellness Podcast. This is your host, Quinn Mitchell. Today I have a very special guest once again, my man Ben Teer. How are you doing today?
Appreciate you, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. So the reason I wanted to bring you back on the show is because I see you are posting up on your social media, and it's really just jumping into the mental aspect that athletes go through, specifically basketball players. And I feel like this is something that not a lot of players go through. And the thing that you have put on your story was specifically saying that when a player is going through and he's the best player on his team, a lot of times when you're scoring or even not passing the ball as much, you get viewed as a negative team player. And then that sometimes take a toll on your gameplay. And then you start passing the ball too much. And then basically you're trying to find that balance in between being a good teammate and trying to take over the game. So what are your thoughts on that, my man?
Yeah, I think it's very intriguing because when I posted that, I had a ton of people message me and say, man, I've either been through this or I'm going through this. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them regretted, the decisions they made, which was they took away what was a strength for them and they started trying to please other people. Mm-hmm. And I know I struggled with it back in high school, and then in college was when I kind of just started to figure out what I think what might be the answer. And I think it's ultimately doing what you think is right. If you have that leadership role, if you are, deemed as one of the top players on your team, I think ultimately you need to do what's going to win games. Mm-hmm. And if that's taking 20 shots, if that's taking tougher shots, if that's understanding personnel that, hey, I got this guy on my left, but he might not be a very good finisher on the left. And that might be a better pass, but a contested shot in this situation is the best, possible shot. Like, you have to really understand stuff like that. And I think it boils down to a couple things. I think it's confidence, number one. It's having, I know in high school when I didn't have that confidence of who I was or who I could be, I think I struggle with it. And then I think some of it does fall under coaching, a coach really helping you understand they want you taking the shots. And then it's a little bit of it, I guess, also is people pleasing. Like I said on my story, we ultimately care what people think about us more than what we think of what we can do, I guess. And it's very interesting, man.
And it's crazy that you even say that, because I've been watching some of the highlights from the people that you've been training, and don't get me wrong, I feel this is why I say you're one of the best skills trainers in the world, because literally I've seen from the last time you spoke the people you've been working with, and like there's one thing about just working with a client, but there's another thing when they go and perform and put up top numbers, and all your clients been putting up top numbers. And one of the things I realized is some of the shots your clients are taking, you and me know, just being from playing basketball in Maine on certain programs, those will be considered bad shots, right? So Why is it that, or what did you ingrain into your players or to your clients that there's no such thing as a bad shot? Like, what is your view on versus a bad shot and a good shot? Like, what is your view on that?
Yeah. No, I don't think there's ultimately a bad shot. I think what we talked about is different a little bit with girls and guys. I think the first thing we try to work on is like the skill behind it, because honestly, for just the girls that I work with, they're super talented, man. And they're missing, vital things like just being able to, one dribble and then elevate. A lot of them try to stick to the ground. And so they miss that mid-range pull-up option. And they kind of either go all the way in or they shoot from the three. So it's kind of giving them that skill first,
Mm-hmm.
and then building the confidence behind it. But what I say to them is, like, honestly, man, you guys put in so much work. And the truth of the matter is, like, you have almost earned the right to take tougher shots for yourself, you know, because you've put in the work behind it. You know, you can hit these shots because we work on them. You know, and so it's just helping them understand that they have the skills, they have the talent, they have the reps behind it. And then now it's just getting over that mental hurdle of, you know, they're getting into a game and taking those tougher shots.
No, definitely. So what would you advise for like even a player that's dealing with that mental battle between trying to be a leader and trying to be a good teammate? Like, what would you advise to them that's really struggling with that? Because I know when I was playing, it was like my freshman, sophomore year of college, I really like, I was riding the best. But when I got to my junior year and when I blew up, it was still like, bitch, I literally remember it was a game where I could have broke the school record for the threes in the game, but I passed it to a teammate. And now that I'm thinking back in my career, I should have took that shot because I was having that type of night. So it's like it's not a regret that I have, but it's just moments that I think back in my career when I was a little too passive. And now I think about it like, yeah, my name's in the record because I tied the school record, but I could have
Right.
but because I was trying to be a good teammate and somebody that came off the bench that didn't play all game, I let him take the shot. So what would you advise to somebody that's dealing with that constant pressure?
Dang, that's tough. In that certain situation, overall in general, I think it, you know, this is such a loaded question, but I think what came into my mind first was, what does it take to win the game? You know, and then second, it's like, you got to understand your spot. So just for an example, last night I was watching film of this girl that I work with, and she didn't shoot the ball for almost 4 minutes straight in the game. And she's the leading scorer. You know, she's the best player on the team. She didn't shoot the ball for 4 straight minutes. She passed up tough shots, open lanes. She might have had to get into the lane and do like a Euro or something that like body someone and then finish away. And she didn't shoot, and they kept going in a hole more and more and more. So I think, like, you got to look at what's happening to the score. You know, if like, if your team's not getting anything going and you're trying to get people involved and it's just not working, like, you got to switch it up. You got to get a little aggressive. And then I use the 1 in 3 rule. I can't remember who I got this from. It might be, I want to give them the credit, but I can't remember who I got it from. But it's basically every 3 touches you get, drive or try to attack and try to make something happen on one of them, you know, and that is including a score. So that's like a good rule to hold yourself to. With your situation, man, that's crazy. I mean, half of me could say like, yo, you're such a great person, because even in like the sense of you could have broken the record, you still, like, you were thinking of somebody else that was maybe never have gotten that opportunity to get in the game, which shows how big of a heart you have. But like, yeah, man, that's tough because like record books is like, I don't know. Like, I think a lot of it is killer too. Like, it's like that Russ, you know, mentality, Kobe mentality, rest in peace, where it's like, you're just not satisfied. Like, you're going to go at them over and over and over. And I'm telling you, man, like, a lot of people say they want to be that person, but that's a different breed where you can just keep going at someone every single time down the floor.
No, definitely. And another question I have for you is, I know when even during the off season when you were training clients, you know, when you have coaches that they really don't they don't know they don't know the work you put in during the off season.
Right.
So when it comes to the game time, they automatically think that you're either the same player from last year or the same player that they've seen from open gym scrimmages or what have you. So they basically try to limit you in a box, right? So when it comes to your game, when you try to expand that on the floor, they try to just limit you. Like, I literally remember, Ben Teer, like, I literally remember what there was during practice. Like, I remember the off season, me and my old teammate, we used to shoot like literally from like the volleyball lines on the court. So we should take like literally hundreds of jump shots like that from 3-point land. So practice come and I'll never forget my senior year, I was watching the film. I was literally taking these shots in game, like literally in game. Come practice, my coach was like, I'm shooting those same shots. This is a drill. Like, you got a minute, you can shoot as many shots as you want. I take those same shots. He stops practice and tells everybody to get online because I'm taking not game shots. I'm like, bro, have you not been watching the film? So then so the same thing happens. And then he says, okay, go back on the line again. So my thing is like, he's trying to box me, but it's like, if you watch the film, you would see that I'm taking these game shots, like. But what would
Yeah.
you advise the players that's really in those types of tough situations where they don't really get much leeway with their coach, but outside of practice, they put in so much work in the offseason where they can really expand and blossom?
Yeah, you asked something earlier too about what I tell my athletes, and this is actually something else, and it goes with this. Assert yourself early. I think there's a two-part like answer to this. The quicker part is, master your role. Like if you just don't have the skills yet to be doing that, right? Like be realistic. Master your role that season, and then start to try to earn, little by little as you finish out your career in high school or college. But if you have that, and if you're shooting those shots in a game, maybe assert yourself early in that next season. I have players all the time where they're this completely new player. They're much better than they were last year, but either they have the same mentality or the same, lack of aggressiveness that they go into the season with. And so, if we put on a number scale, like they're an 8 out of 10 for their skill set and their playing style, but their mindset is a 5.6, and their aggressiveness, their killer instinct is a 5.6. And so they go into this new season with all this stuff, but they're still playing like that role player they were last year. You know what I mean? And so what the coaches see at the very beginning of the season is, oh, this guy likes to screen, this girl likes to pass the ball up. And then like you start to get into the season and you're like, yo, like this is not everything I can do. So you try to do a little bit more, and coach is like, whoa, that's not what we're used to seeing. Like, buddy, keep passing the ball. So I tell them, assert yourself early. Like if you think that you can be this type of player, do it at the very beginning, because then the coaches are going to know what they're looking for throughout the rest of the year. So like when you come up and you pull these 40-footers, they're like, oh, we've been seeing that since the get-go. And if it's in practice, who knows? Maybe that coach is trying to like send a message, like maybe other people looking up to you, they're trying to do it. Who knows? But yeah, you just got to be careful in practice. But if that's what you're doing in a game, man, assert yourself early. I think that's the best advice.
But one thing I love about you is, like I said, you not only work on the skill set, but you work on the mindset with your clients too. And I feel like that's what makes you different. So what is it that if you don't mind just giving like a secret to the listeners, what is it that you're telling your players that's really, because I've literally seen you training with these same dudes, now they putting up 40 a night and like they're killers. So what is there something that you're telling them mentally to help them be killers throughout the season?
I don't know. I'm blessed. I know it sounds like a cop-out. I'm blessed. I have really like hard, like, I think, people attract people, and like, I get some kids, man, and they just want to put in a ton of work, and they're invested, and they're really like conscious and passionate about what we do. But I think maybe something that could help other players is, I think what I kind of derive my training off of is, what you tell yourself is what you think, and what you think over a long time is what you become, and what you become, that's the actions you take, and the actions you take are the results that you get. And I know it's a little long-winded route, but like, players, a lot of times I think how they think of themselves is ultimately what they get. Like what they put out is what they get back. And I think a lot of players, again, going back to the skills, they might have crazy amount of skills, but they still think of themselves as a role player. They still think of themselves as that bench player, and I think in sessions, I really try to create an environment of killer mentality, and I talk like, you could ask whether it's a high school girl, freshman girl, 8th grade boy, 6th grade boy, like if 7th grade girl, whoever, it doesn't matter. Like all the way up to, Blanca, like college players, like we're talking trash. Like I'm in their face. No one believes in you. You ain't going to do it. Like, and it's like chirping them up the whole time. And they know it's out of love. They know it's genuine. And I really try to push them mentally. So maybe that's something too, like, and maybe that's just who I am, and I don't even notice it. But I think we do turn it up a notch in sessions where we make it a almost, we make it something that's intense. We turn up, I push them mentally. I really make them earn it. We play ones, they got to go up against me. A couple hard fouls, trash talking, and maybe that does something for them where, I'm pulling so much from them every session. It almost becomes like a habit for them, that because they're being pushed all the time, they start to become that person that's kind of just going at someone over and over and over. And I learned that from my boy Tyler Ralph, when I went down to Texas to watch him train and stuff. Like the energy that guy had was insane. And you can tell that, athletes feed off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that was a lot of like different stuff, but I don't know. I've never had someone ask me that question, which is crazy, but I think those are a couple things. If you have someone, have them push you. Don't, especially if you're trying to become another player. And, for yourself, you got to start thinking of yourself differently, and you got to reassert it all the time and retell yourself that.
And I was just getting ready to ask you, my next question was, how was that experience? Because I know when you went out to Texas, you was training with some of the pro NBA players. So how was that experience for you?
It was incredible, not just to see their work ethic, but like, Julius Randle, he's potentially could be an all-star this year. And, when I was going through the sessions and we're working on different stuff, and, you're seeing what he's doing in the approach is the one thing that stood out to me. Like he was no BS. He was almost, I was very intimidated, honestly, at the beginning, because he was so locked in. It was he wasn't trying to be, dappy, lovey-dovey, like, what's up? Like, let's talk it up. Like, he was there and he meant business. Like, this is my paycheck. This is my livelihood. Like, I'm here to go to work. And he went to work. And again, that approach that you see, you can't, it's hard to describe, but these guys are so locked in that you bring it back to these, high school, college athletes. And it kind of reasserts. And then you see the results of success they're getting this year. And you're seeing that type of locked in really does work, man. But it was incredible. And they're good people too.
Nah, that's awesome. And then the last question I have for you is, I know, like I said, a lot of your clients have put up high numbers. And one thing that I know as an athlete is once you start to make a name for yourself, now there's a constant pressure of going out and performing every night. And when you don't live up to that expectation that now you're getting from other people and now that you have from yourself, mentally that could take a toll on you. So what advice would you give to players that have built a name up for themselves, but now it's just, I know for me, it was, I just had to go out and play basketball and my instincts take over. But for other people that may not have it that easy or may think too much of it mentally on them, what advice would you give them to deal with that pressure every night of going out and performing at a high level?
Yeah, that's tough. Being someone that used to overthink a little bit, I think I did struggle with, I was struggling with that again in high school. I think a lot of it is the proper work. If you put in the proper work, your body will be ready for it. Your muscle memory will be ready for it. So sometimes that can take your mind a little bit away from it, and you can rely on that. But also it's it's going back to having that environment. In sessions, we really try to create something where athletes don't think, they just react, because that's all basketball is. Once you have that skill set, and rest in peace again, Kobe Bryant said it. Once you have, for example, between the legs, a behind the back, and a crossover, like a lot of moves just combo those. So, if you can master that in game-like situations, then everything after that is just reactions, just putting them and plugging them together. But man, the mental side is so intriguing because, I won't take too long to answer this, but a quick example is I'm seeing a lot of athletes I work with now. They're starting to drop 20s and 30s every night, and they're getting double teamed, they're getting triple teamed. And so it's taking them away from that game because, in Maine, not everyone, and I want to be respectful, but I also want to be truthful. There's such a gap from like the best players on a team and the role players, and again, it's some of these role players, they just don't care about basketball like that, or they're doing it for social reasons. So again, I'm not trying to diss them, but so it's tough because, a lot of these top players are trying to make the right decisions, but then they have the players, they can't finish, or they don't make the right basketball play. And so mentally they're getting frustrated, and it's kind of in a different way going to what you're saying. And so, what I try to do is I try to watch film for them. I try to help them understand, like, hey, if you, just with another girl I'm working with, she was talking about getting in more transition situations. Like, hey, if we can rebound more, then we can get into more transition situations, and I can score like that. So I don't have to be in the half court situation all the time and be double and triple team. So, I think mentally, if you're struggling with stuff like that, you can sit down with your coach, mom, dad, trainer, watch film, and then just try to find little things that can help you still be a threat when there's so much trying to be taken away from you. And if you start to have pressure, at the end of the day, you've got to remember this is basketball. Like you're saying, like it's a game, and all you're trying to do is win. So, maybe focus less off yourself and focus more on winning the game and what you need to do to win. And I think you'll be able to figure out more what needs to happen.
And I'm glad you brought that point up because I remember just playing myself. I mean, just being the Maine, realistically, like I was at CM, and then I went to UMA, and there at UMA, there was guys out there that simply they just play basketball just to say they play basketball. So me, I knew that when it came down to games and we were losing, it was only so much I could do as a player because I can't talk to a guy about cutting doing a backdoor cut when he doesn't even
Yeah.
this is his first year playing basketball, so he's not
Yeah.
even feeling my frustration. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that you brought that up because a lot of players do deal with that play at a high level where their teammates they really just don't care as much. So my last question, I know the previous question was my last one, but this is
Say something to that real quick
Mhm.
before your last question, not to
Yeah.
interrupt you. I think that starts to come down to like personnel and being able to like almost play off, not manipulate. I can't think of another word, but it's like
Mhm.
control the emotions of your players. You know, when I played at University of Maine in Machias, we had a couple guys where, I mean, you know, I loved them to death. They were very passionate players, but they were like Draymond Greens. They were head
Mhm.
cases, man. And you
Mhm.
just never knew what they were going to do from game to game. And so what you try to do is you try to like control their emotions where you put them in situations to succeed, and then you try to limit touches in other situations
Mhm.
because you know, like, once these dudes get the ball, it's going up. Once they get a couple fouls, they're not going to play defense.
Mhm.
And so like there's frustrations like you're saying in so many different ways too. And I think it does. It goes back to controlling these players' emotions, knowing personnel, and then being able to control the situations they're in. And that's very, very hard, but that can help.
Mhm.
So my fault. Go ahead.
No. The last question I was just going to say was because I when I spoke to Blanca when I had her on the podcast, she just
Yeah.
brought up you and how important it was to even have a mentor like yourself. And my question was, how important would you say to have a mentor, somebody like yourself, in your corner? Because I mean, when I was playing, yeah, I had people that was watching the game. But if I had somebody like you that would study my film and then we could talk about it, my game would have got to a whole nother level. So how important would you say it was for players to be if they don't have that situation or to find somebody that would help them get to that next level?
Yeah, I think it's important because it's hard to go through rough times by yourself. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you need that supporting cast. And I think from being that person that didn't have anyone, I really, really it means a lot to me. You know, the players I work with, I do really care about them. And I think I can do better at reaching out to them more. I get so busy sometimes. But I really do want them to understand that like I want them to succeed. I want them to be their best selves. And for people, that's everything. When you have someone, when you know you have someone in your corner that's always going to be there for you and look out for you, it gives you kind of this reassurance, you know, that like even if you do go through tough times, you have someone that you can talk with, or you have someone that can understand you and help you. And it's very hard because at a young age, like, you know, even, and I'm 29 now, so even in college when I was like 21, like, man, I remember back then, like I thought I knew everything and I knew nothing. And so when you go through these experiences, if you only rely on yourself to try and help you through this stuff, like, you know, you haven't gone through really that much yet. So you can start to really make a lot of bad decisions and a lot of irrational or emotional decisions. So having not just one, but a couple mentors, you know, it can help you understand how to maneuver through these obstacles, these roadblocks, not get stuck on them for as long as the mentors did.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, you can almost like, it's like, you know, cheat the system a little bit
Mm-hmm.
where, you know, you fail faster in a way,
Mm-hmm.
and you can, you know, you can start to succeed even faster. So yeah, I advise anyone to get a mentor, to reach out, drop your pride, drop your ego. And, you know, we don't know, none of us know everything. You know, I have mentors right now of myself, you know, for older people and other people. And, you know, you need that. You don't know everything, and you need people in your circle when things are either going great or not going good.
Like I said, I appreciate you even coming on the show, chopping it up with me, man. Like I said, I appreciate our connection that we have. Ever
My
since I
guy.
reached out from about a year ago now, and it's ever since then, you always been real. And I remember you even watching me play at when I was up in Prescott. I just remember you remembering the little details about me. Is like that says something about you as a person. And like I said, you're one of the best skill trainers I know, probably in the world right now. Just seeing the results that you're giving your clients. So like I said, I appreciate you coming on the show as well.
I appreciate you, dude. It's all the athletes. You know, they put in the work. They deserve the credit, and I love what you do. You know, I want people to understand that like these type of podcasts, you know, there's free value in them. Like it's crazy because you know, I watch your tidbits all the time on your page, and I pick up things literally weekly because, you know, it's free. I'm getting older. I don't know. But like, I can't understand people that get this free information that can literally help them succeed and just, you know, be like, no, I'm good. And, so no, man, I appreciate you too. And those are kind words.
Nah, definitely. Like I said, you've always been real, and like you're one of the best. We could talk all night, really, but I don't want to keep you too much of your time. But like I said, I appreciate you chopping it up with me. We'll definitely be in touch soon, my man.
For sure.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Q's Health and Wellness Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe or to leave us a review on iTunes or the listening platform of your choice. Also, please check us out at QuinnMitchellII.com, as well as find us on Instagram for more useful content and resources.